families from many different countries, and I didn't always know their story. And often when I found out their story, I was shocked. I think I never could have guessed the things that they'd been through based on their attitudes and how hopeful they were and how motivated they were and how joyful. So much humor and laughter, and it's really hard to be funny in the language that's not your own.
Often desolate situation. And as I was watching these volunteers play with children in the tents, games, sing songs, they were smiling. And it's kind of the last thing I expect to see when I think of children in a refugee camp. And it was in that moment, one of those moments where I realized that the children in the refugee camp are around the same age as children in my own family.
Very hopeful, particularly for the two girls, because they are excelling in their classes. They have become quite fluent in English, and they have conveyed to me their sense of responsibility actually for their parents. They feel that they have certain goals that they want to meet because they want to be there for their parents.
You know, to get out of all the fighting and all the crime and all the upheaval and the forcing of not education, you know, especially for the women. I mean, there were women that were doctors. You're not a doctor anymore. You know, you're a teacher, you don't teach anymore. You know, so there are a lot of things where, you know, the people, I think if they could find a way out, there's nothing better. So many young girls wanted an education, you know, and they couldn't get it. So, I mean, that happened, you know, I'm talking about in 2004, and, you know, thank God that a number of groups have gone in to help them with education, but still, I mean, the Taliban's not out of Afghanistan. You know, it's still not a safe country, and I do believe that if certain people could get out, they would.
I sort of fell into it. I was in a program in college called the International Leadership Program, and I had no international experience. So one of the professors tried to help me out in that area and connected me to a man who was starting an after-school program for Somali teenagers. And even though that was so far out of my comfort zone, I had never heard of refugees, I had never heard of Somalia. But the man she introduced me to was a farm boy from Kansas, and that felt really familiar to me, so it made it really easy to take that step. And once I met the kids, it was just game over. I loved them, I loved being around them. I skipped class to spend time with them. It sort of became my life for the next 4 years.
I think that it helps to make me think of Jesus' request to welcome the stranger and to do unto the least of these. So I think it helped me in that respect. Also, I felt that I had some connections and I could be useful that way. And I think it was very good for our congregation to be able to support a family that was outside of our realm, our knowledge.
I think the biggest moment resulted from a meeting that I went to, which resulted from one of my groups that I'm a part of on meetup.com. And it was a meeting that highlighted volunteer organizations, nonprofits in Chicago. And one of the groups that was there to present was a nonprofit called Girl Forward. And it's not a group I had heard of before. But what I learned is what they primarily do is match up people one-on-one with adolescent girl refugees in Chicago. And when I heard them describe that process, I was floored by the fact that there's a significant number of adolescent girl refugees in Chicago. It was a moment that made me realize that these people really are living as neighbors. They're living in our communities, and I didn't even realize that population existed to that extent. It was also significant for me because I realized that maybe there was something that I could contribute directly. It wasn't until that point that I realized I could make an impact or millions of refugees around the world, it felt very global and like there's not anything that I could possibly do to help the situation. But knowing that there were people in my community that I could help directly gave me a sense of agency and made me feel like there was something that I could do.
The more I met people and saw just their knowledge and experience and all the things that they were bringing to America, I realized what an asset they are to our community and how often it goes overlooked. And it's hard for me to explain that to people, but I think when people meet a family from any country, anyone who has been through the refugee process, I think there's such a benefit to our communities, and it's so important for everyone to find that out for themselves.
Wonderful.